Welcome to another edition of The Word. I'm happy to have you here with me today. So, today's going to be a subject about what you find in all those churches out there, a lot of them anyway. And this one is going to be about what makes a hypocrite. So, to illustrate this, I'm going to use two examples. This is a family that I know back in Phoenix, Arizona. But it's a perfect example of what a true Christian is versus a complete hypocrite. So let's start with a little background. Now, the family that I know of out there, they've been through hell. Okay, the father, he died early in the life of the kids. And the mother, she did the best she could to deal with it. She was pretty sick though too. But, by herself, she raised them. And she was able to get the bare necessities from the state, but it wasn't really very good. So anyway, it just added stress, trying to, how it is with the state. You're trying to get stuff out of them, and then they don't want to give it to you. So despite all this turmoil, despite all that, the mother did persevere. She did a wonderful job of raising her children. She raised them up to be a Christian family. So, that's the best she could do. And she did do the best she could do. So, anyway, time came along. The kids were getting grown up. The state was going, hey, we're not paying for nothing no more. And we had a bunch of kids. I mean, it was like 5 kids. There's 3 daughters, 2 sons. And we had one daughter that would sing and, praise the Lord. And like every other word out of her mouth was God this, God that. She had to go to church every Sunday. Now, there was a couple others too that did Bible studies and things like that. But this one really stood out. Well, she started working shortly before the state cut this family off. And that's when they all started to notice something a little different about this Christian girl. Now, in Luke chapter 11, verses 39 to 41, Jesus says, "Now then, you Pharisees, you clean the outside of the cup and the dish, but inside you're full of greed and wickedness. You foolish people! Did not the one who made the outside made the inside also? But now as for what is inside of you, be generous to the poor, and everything will be clean for you." Well, this daughter, she would pay the rent and the bills, but she always had a grudge about it. It was like the family was taking her money away. And as time passed, more and more and more was noticed that this shiny cup was filled with greed, resentment, and selfishness. Now, throughout all this, all that Christian talk continued, the gotta go to church and the singing and all that just continued on, but now it's just empty talk, words with no actions to support them. And she made her family feel guilty and ashamed to want her money and to keep her from buying things that she wanted. Now, the youngest son of the 2 boys who had just graduated high school, he was a Christian as well. Now, he didn't spend all his days preaching and singing and God this and God that, but he did try to get to church as much as he could. Well, he started to work almost right after high school. And according to the plan, him and his sister were going to split things. Well, that only lasted a couple of months. As soon as the daughter found out that her brother was now working, she got even more selfish. She got even more greedy. It's my money. She wanted to pay less and less, and she had a boyfriend now who shamelessly disrespected her family. He would make fun of her brother. He'd do all kinds of nasty things, and she was right behind it, but she's Christian. He was a Christian. But, he couldn't bother lending a helping hand even if it wasn't even any skin off his back. Well, the family didn't like the direction of this new relationship, and this supposedly Christian daughter, she grew more and more indifferent and more disrespectful, and it came to a head a couple months later, and she just left. She left her brother to carry the weight of the whole family on his shoulder. And remember, this is a poor family, a mother who took care of their kids, and the state dropped them, and all that was left was the little brother. But he was happy to work and support his family. His cup shined inside and out. There was no greed, no guilt, no shame. He didn't do that to his family. He'd pay the rent and the bills, and then he'd ask if anybody else wanted anything. Yeah, his little bits he had left, he wanted to give away. In fact, the only thing that would upset him is if somebody didn't tell him if they needed something. And to this day, I've kept in contact with him. It's almost a year or so later, and he continues to take care of this family. He doesn't have a single thought in his head for himself. That is a true Christian. It's not about talk or songs or going to church. It's not about having personal possessions. It's all about love and giving. It's about family. It's about what you do that defines you as a Christian. The hypocrite daughter, she continues to pretend to walk with Jesus. She tries to cover her tracks, shining up her cup, telling people how bad her family is, and all to make her look good. But does she really think she has God fooled? She uses words like, I'll be the bigger person to her mother. This is the woman who selflessly spent her life caring and nurturing her despite devastating illness, despite her husband passing away. But she was there. She says that to her mother after nearly a year of ignoring her and her family. She doesn't have the time to visit or say hi, just put them down. You don't use words like that when you're the one in the wrong. But she doesn't think she's wrong. In Philippians chapter 3, verses 18 to 19, it says, For as I have often told you before, and now tell you again, even with tears, many live as enemies of the cross of Christ. Their destination is destruction. Their God is their stomach, and their glory is in their shame. Their mind is set on earthly things. Well, this daughter has many earthly possessions now. Selfishly, she works and lives for her good alone. She even has a car. Still, she has no time to help her family or even visit them. She feels no remorse for what she's done to her brother or the grief that she's brought upon her mother. She is not a Christian. She is a fake. One of the many who think they have God somehow fooled. It's people like that keep me away from the mainstream church. The hypocrites hide it so well behind their veil of falseness. In Psalms chapter 26, verse 4, it states, I do not sit with the deceitful, nor do I associate with hypocrites. Yeah, I'll stick with the quiet ones like the little brother. The ones that do instead of talk, the pure of heart. They don't need to make a big noise, for they shine before God like the brightest of lights. Jesus said it well in Matthew chapter 15, verses 8 to 9. These people honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. They worship me in vain. Their teachings are mainly human rules, or merely human rules. I'll pray for that family out there. I'll pray for the little brother who joyfully carries so much burden. I'll pray for the mother that she overcomes the grief from being stabbed in the back by her daughter that she cared for all of her life. But mostly I'm going to pray for the daughter that someday maybe she'll truly turn to God. So, folks, there you have the difference between a true Christian and a hypocrite or fake Christian. And I'll tell you, it's hard to tell them apart until you really closely observe their actions. But it is important to know the difference. And it's not so we can judge. It's so we can avoid evil. Pretending to love God is the work of Satan. Selfishness, greed, pride, those are all Satan's trademarks, no matter how godly the package may look. And yeah, we're all guilty, but we all try not to be, and that's the thing. They don't. Remember, no matter how easily we may be fooled, God is never fooled. He knows us inside and out. There is nothing we can hide from Him. I pray you all can be the little brother and not the daughter. Now, folks, to be honest, I find myself running out of material. I don't want to just repeat things over and over, and it kind of seems like in a couple episodes that's what I've done. So I want to try something out. I want y'all to leave in the comments, bearing in mind that I'm not a biblical scholar, but something that you'd like to hear me speak about. So, you know, and maybe we could touch base. Maybe I can help you to understand something. Maybe you can help me to understand something. You never know. Yeah, I want to thank you for joining me today, and I hope I've touched the heart of just one person. If just one viewer turns to God, it's a wonderful thing. Remember, God is calling to you. He waits patiently at the door to your heart. He wants to be in your heart, and it doesn't matter how tainted your past. Just look at me. Until next time, God bless you.